Welcome into Film Tank, the weekly podcast that covers both new and classic cinema. On today's episode of Film Tank, we discuss the new Marvel film, which is Spider-Man: Far From Home. If you would like to get in touch with Film Tank, you can always email us at filmtankshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Film Tank Show. And you can listen to all of our episodes on our website, filmtankshow.com, or on iTunes. And now, here are your hosts, Nick Cheney, Toussaint Egan, and myself, Alex Diekman. Hey there, everybody, and welcome in to episode 199 of Film Tank. I am Alex Diekman, along with Nick Cheney.
Hey!
Okay. Toussaint Egan, also here.
Excelsior!
Oh, yeah. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, so I don't recall.
No, that
That's
was
just Stanley.
That's just Stanley.
Oh!
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even worse.
Oh.
Okay, good.
Damn.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We also have a guest on this episode. No. We don't need to do the door knocking thing. That's okay. We don't need to.
Who is it?
I wish I had a walk-in song, because then this would be so much better than just a knock.
Yeah.
It would be, but unfortunately, all we have is Toussaint.
Here we are.
So that voice you hear is our friend Christina.
Hello.
Hi, Christina!
I'm excited.
She has joined us previously to talk about X-Men Apocalypse.
Yes.
So that was a few years ago. So it's been a hot minute.
A few years ago, guys. Think about that. Right?
There's been another X-Men movie, really two if you count Logan, since that point.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I'm on, it's for something that is comic book related. I end up talking about the comics, and then here I am.
So it sounds like you would like to be invited back for a non-comic book film.
Hey, don't twist my words around. Don't put things in my mouth.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Don't put things in her mouth.
Yeah. It's not her. Look, it's not anyone's fault that superhero films come out with a frequency of pretty
I was
much
supporting
like
her.
every single month. But we should actually try to float that idea. It's like there's a lot of really cool films that are coming out later this year that aren't comic related, such as The Lighthouse.
No. No. I mean, the
Definitive no on that one. That's good.
We're doing an episode.
We're probably going to do an episode, but Christina will not be on
Yeah.
it.
Oh.
I mean, I technically should have been on an episode because I was with Anna during Mary Poppins.
That's right, and she shouted you out.
No, she did not. She did
Oh, no,
not.
she explicitly didn't,
Yeah.
because she said, I went with my friend.
Yeah, and then I was very hurt by that, and I was like, name drop me. And
Yeah.
then she name drops me in the most embarrassing way of me sobbing in a theater.
Oh.
But it's fine.
That was pretty good.
That's what friends are for.
Anna cried during Mary Poppins. I like turned, and it's 2 minutes in, and I'm like, Anna,
Yeah.
pull it together.
Wait, she cried 2 minutes into Mary Poppins?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess
minutes in.
She got some feels.
Sorry about this, Anna. I'm not that
No,
sorry.
don't apologize. She deserves it.
I'm trying to think of what part 2 minutes in led to tears.
just
Mary
overcome
Poppins
with-
just flying in.
She was
Oh.
just overcome
So
with a lot of emotion
after
of seeing-
Underneath the London Sky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just her first appearance.
All right, no, you know what?
brought it.
Still fucked up, Anna.
No.
There's
it's
better things
not.
to cry over.
I mean, like the scene where they're talking
Suzanne,
about
we're trying to shame Anna right now,
No, I'm
and you're
not.
not helping.
No, I'm not.
Are you being serious, or are you saying no? I'm not. Like,
No. I haven't even seen the new Mary
Thank you for
Poppins,
clarifying.
but I can understand like getting emotional,
that
especially
is
if it's a character
really
that
good
you.
movie.
Obviously,
actually.
we
It's
can
on
all
Netflix.
understand that. We just like
is.
shit
I saw
talking
that,
people
yeah.
sometimes.
I don't like doing that.
Yeah, you do.
I only do that if it's like
You literally, the last episode you were on, which is the last episode, you shit talked someone you knew from college because you still haven't gotten over when they took your term paper.
no, that's different. That guy was a motherfucker.
Okay.
He was a real asshole.
Oh, yeah.
No,
we don't shit talk the people that
It
we
was
like.
Aurora University. That is not the. I don't even know the heart of academia.
No. This is
What?
this is different. I'll talk about this offline if you want to.
I
but,
don't want to hear about it. So.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, they're getting a parking garage now. Let's
Okay,
just talk about
so
that.
let me just like put this very, very clear. I don't like shit talking people. So if I do shit talk somebody, you're gonna know that they deserve.
I'm going
it.
to count how many times you shit
Toussaint
talk
must
people.
not like a lot of people.
Yeah.
because- I don't know.
You
Because
shit talk a lot of people.
I
Quite a
shit talked
bit.
Rupert Sanders, yeah, because he's an asshole.
There's a human
boy.
out there currently named Rupert.
Rupert Sanders, yeah.
Rupert Grint.
Yeah.
That's true.
Rupert Sanders, he's the guy who directed Snow White and the Huntsman and that really shitty Ghost in the Shell movie that I like.
Well, he is
justifiably do not like.
He is planning to do that Rub and Tug movie coming up.
What?
Is that a 1970s porno?
So that movie is about
Not that I'm aware.
a woman who became a man. And then
No,
wait.
No.
You don't just give me a second.
From Rupert Sanders.
Just wait. Listen to where I'm going with this. If you don't know about it, this will be fun. Not really. So it's a true story.
My mouth is just agape, waiting for this to just go off the fucking rails. Okay, continue.
Okay, it's a true story about a woman who became a man.
All right.
And then she became a gangster. He became a gangster.
Okay.
He became a gangster.
Okay.
By owning a bunch of massage parlors that offered a little extra.
Mm-hmm.
Like towels?
Anyways, so this is where the Scarlett Johansson thing came in, because she was originally cast in this role, and this is what apparently led to the somewhat infamous thing about her saying that she should be able to play trees if she wants to.
Oh,
This is
conversation. All right.
literally nothing you said made this any better. If anything,
no.
it made it worse.
No.
And now I absolutely don't feel bad like talking shit about Rupert Sanders, because he just makes an ass of himself, and I'm just gonna call it what it is. He makes a fucking ass of himself.
I just find it interesting that he's making a film called Rub and Tug.
Yeah, I think he's a fucking asshole.
Okay.
Yeah, but yes. Anyway, the movie that we are talking about
say-
Yeah, the
today,
movie.
we're talking about a movie today. What's the
Moving
movie?
on from Toussaint's hatred of people.
There's a reason why I said Excelsior. Why is that?
So we are discussing the newest film in the MCU, which is Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Okay.
And I will say, Christina, we are very much excited to do this episode with you, but we did make a pact after Endgame that we were not going to do another Marvel movie.
Yeah.
figured.
It was
I
a
was-
death pact.
And yet here we are.
Power of the Film Tank guest.
I was going to say, like, we say all the time, not all the time, that's dramatization a little bit, but we have said multiple times before, like, we're not really planning to do that, and then somebody's interested, and that just doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
I saw
So-
the conversation after Endgame, and I was like, oh, they're not going to want to do one. And then I saw it, and I was like, I need someone to talk to me about this.
Yeah.
Because none of my other friends are like, Christina, we don't care.
Yeah.
Well,
We don't either, but
Well,
we'll
care
talk about it.
marginally. So yeah, let's hash it out.
yeah. So Spider-Man: Far From Home brings back Tom Holland as Peter Parker, as this is his 5th appearance already as
Holy
Peter
shit!
Parker.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. So it's like
So
Civil
it's
War.
Civil War,
The two
yeah.
Avengers and the two Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
It's really not that much in,
No.
in the
Yeah.
sense of...
But
yeah.
if you're just wanting to be,
I really consider it more of Civil War and these two Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Not because he doesn't have good moments or whatever.
I mean,
but
he's definitely more of a major character in Infinity War. Okay. But in Infinity War, he was in that movie for the most part, and then he just shows up at the end of Endgame. But at any rate, that's fine. Just going on, just titles.
Yeah.
He's been in the most Spider-Mans out of anybody, even though he's only been Spider-Man for 4 years.
Yeah. That's the Marvel MCU for you.
Yeah, sure. So
to be fair, he was blipped for 5 years. So
Oh, my
like,
God. Let's not make Blip a thing.
doesn't
we're going to be
really-
talking about that, I'm sure, somewhat on this episode.
Blip, blip,
about the-
Blipadelphia. Blip.
Oh, God. Also appearing, other than Tom Holland, is Jake Gyllenhaal, who plays the sort of villain in the movie Mysterio. Other than them, we have returning from the Spider-Man universe, Zendaya, Jacob...
Zendaya.
Zendaya.
Is that really how you say it?
It is Zendaya.
Zendaya.
I was just...
Thank you for...
Yeah.
No,
She's in that
it's good.
show Euphoria.
Yes.
Is that any good?
I heard it was good.
I watched an
I've heard
episode.
very mixed things.
I watched an episode and I was like, no, this is not really for me, but it's okay.
So Zendaya?
Zendaya.
Okay. I have now
Yeah.
have that in my brain.
Yeah.
So that's good. Also, Jacob Batalon is here as Ned. And then Nick's favorite character, Tony Ravioli returning as Flash Thompson. That guy's career is fucked because he can't play anybody who's a real character, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah. I will say this doesn't factor into my real thoughts about this movie, but for someone who like pretty much was very put off by Homecoming, especially his Flash Thompson, I found him 10% more tolerable in this movie.
Well, he was 10% less in this movie. So.
I would say so, but even his lines weren't as obnoxious. They were slightly more backgrounded.
That's fair.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Also, in this film, you have appearances from Kobe Smulders.
Or did you?
Yeah.
Maybe that was the greatest deep fake of all.
Yeah. Also, J.B. Smooth.
I'm shaking my head at you. No.
Martin Starr. We get a weird cameo from Peter Billingsley in this movie, who shows up as one of the villain-type characters. He's been really busy not doing anything after A Christmas Story 40 years ago.
And a super secret cameo that we're not going to talk about until later.
Okay. And also to returning here are Marissa Tomei, Jon Favreau, and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yep.
Yep.
So, this film this film follows the events of Avengers Endgame as Spider-Man must step up to take on new threats in a world that has changed forever.
That's very vague.
It is very vague, just like the plot.
Well,
Do
that's
we know
because
how long it's been since they came back from the blip?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly after Tony's funeral. Do we?
Well,
is
he
that
references
mentioned?
the funeral. I want to say it's got to be maybe a semester
At least.
in the eyes of a child.
A couple of months.
Yeah.
I would say a couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not been long, I don't think.
No. I have a question about Spider-Man's
What?
first suit that he wears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
The one he wears to that kind of benefit for Aunt May. Is that like his Met Gala suit? Because he won't wear that anywhere else, even though it looks like the most advanced of the
His
suits.
nano
So, he's an Avenger who just saved the world, and yet he has to do galas at high school gymnasium?
Well,
Well,
he
he would
doesn't
do
have
that for
to.
Aunt May. That
Yeah.
much I get. That's just Peter Parker, Aunt May.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yeah. I could get
that's
Spider-Man.
Aunt May's organization.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Read a comic, goddammit.
Yeah.
She can't,
Or
like...
play the video game.
She hasn't,
Yeah,
like...
actually, that's
Yeah.
pretty much what probably
yeah.
is more in my head with that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I hate to be this person, but they're not rich now?
No, he doesn't do it for the money.
No.
He's a child. There's child labor laws.
No.
Who do you write the check out to? Spider-Man? Like, how do you cash?
If anything,
I mean,
if anything,
the people of the money know who he is.
The money goes to Pepper Potts and
And that's a non-for-profit
Tony's-
organization.
Yeah.
So, that in and of
Tony's
itself
daughter.
exists outside of whatever wealth him and Aunt May or may not
Mm-hmm.
accumulate.
Okay.
But you feel pretty stupid right now, don't you?
Sure,
don't.
we're talking about the dynamics
I
of
assume there are unlimited funds for these people.
non-for-profit organizations
But
and superhero
maybe not.
movie universes. Yeah.
That'd be great if, Spider-Man's, seriously, poor as fuck.
I mean,
That's the
he-
whole thing about
yeah,
Spider-Man. He's poor as
that's
fuck.
pretty much what Peter
He's
Parker is.
He's a working-class superhero.
He doesn't.
He can afford plenty of shit to buy that web. I mean, come on.
That's different. That's his own proprietary,
He works for Doc Ock. He has access to laboratories.
not yet.
Now you're confusing two different continuities.
You know what? They all exist.
No, they
Yeah,
all,
they do.
They all exist.
just to let you
doing this
know.
weird web thing.
I was gonna say Nick is either a spider or he's a homeless man digging through garbage here.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing.
That would be this.
Do you think those webs are biodegradable? Like, is he just littering?
Yeah,
everywhere?
no, they're biodegradable.
They must be because they would be hanging all over the place.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
But they're still on that one machine when they take that out.
Exactly. That's the question I have. Like,
Yeah.
they're still on the machine.
True.
The answer is don't think about it.
But
Say-
the planet.
The answer is don't think about it.
The planet.
Oh wow, yeah, the planet's really gonna go to hell in a handbasket because Spider-Man won't clean up his fucking goo webs.
only takes one to
I have
make a change.
To admit, I'm really upset that when they named the European Black Spider-Man the Night Monkey, they missed an opportunity when asked, I believe it was Ned who coined that, what he was. He should have said, "Oh, that's Lighter Man." because he's lying about who he is.
They could have done a reference to, Into the Spider-Verse of Spider-Noir, Black Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely dropped the ball on
that seems like that's kind of a, I don't want to say sore subject, but Tom Holland was supposed to be in the Spider-Verse in some capacity, and then that kind of fell through.
Yeah, that sucks.
So,
I bet he's really crying about
Maybe
it.
he'll be in the next one.
No, but in terms of like trying to like tie that back in, I don't think they're too concerned at this point.
I don't think so.
No.
Maybe he'll make another appearance in the next one. Because there's definitely going to be a next one.
What's that voice?
I mean, we don't know.
That's
We never really know. There's lots of
Tucson's
surprises
slightly curious but knows something voice.
there. Yeah. We don't really know, but maybe something will pan out later. Let's talk about Spider-Man Far From Home.
Why don't you lead
Wait.
us off there?
Hold on, no, what is happening right here?
I don't know. I'm trying to get us off of it because it's
What
not
are you
going
looking
anywhere
at?
good.
Nothing.
You're still
You
doing it.
just looked at the ceiling.
Well,
Is there a spider? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Oh.
That he's here?
who's to say?
Oh my God.
Now you look to the left.
No.
Now you look down.
Let's just talk about this movie, okay?
We'd love to.
Thank you.
At least I speak for myself, but
Yeah.
I think we'd like to.
Who wants to go first and talk
You
about
can.
Spider-Man?
You seem
Far
very
From Home?
interested.
All right.
Okay.
So, Spider-Man Far From Home. I went to go see this with a friend, and they really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, too. I think that overall, at least my initial impressions of what I remember from, like, Spider-Man Homecoming, it doesn't really stick in my mind that powerfully. This one is a little bit more... I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing Spider-Man like go on this like world like gallivanting trip, like just trying to be a teenager, trying to like woo Mary Jane and do stuff like that.
Michelle.
Michelle,
Let's get that
Michelle
straight.
Jane. Really?
Her name is Michelle.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Apparently, you didn't really like this movie that much.
Well, there's one thing that I didn't like about this movie, and that was the returning sort of theme of the use of Spider-Man's villains in this sort of universe. I'm of the opinion that Spider-Man has one of the best rogues galleries of any comic book character, like second only to Batman in terms of like how iconic that entire like rogues gallery is. You have Green Goblin, you have Hobgoblin, you have
Doc Ock.
you have Doc Ock, you have the Vulture, you have Venom, you have Carnage, you have
Puberty.
you have Alistair Smythe, you have Puberty,
Hydro Man.
you have Hydra Man, you have Sandman,
The Rhino.
you have the Rhino. See, you can
I know a lot.
name them off. You're right. But the thing that I don't like about the implementation of villains in this universe is that they always seem to just be they're reduced to like sort of hand-me-down antagonists.
Yeah, you've had the Vulture and
from
Mysterio.
Yeah, from
Have
Iron Man.
weirdly similar motivations.
Right.
Which
It's
have nothing to do with Spider-Man.
It's always about I hate Iron Man and he's not around, or I don't know how to attack him, so I'm
Or
just
he's
gonna,
not trying to fuck my daughter.
or I'm just gonna try to attack Spider-Man, who is now the new Iron Man. And I think that's really fucking weak because I like those villains, and I feel like those villains deserve to be like specifically with Spider-Man, not just like by proxy of like attachment to Iron Man. I don't appreciate that. I like the depiction and like the art direction and the costuming for these villains. I loved Vulture in Homecoming, and I like Mysterio in this one because he's actually wearing his costume and he looks like Mysterio. But I just don't like the sort of like contrived reasons as to why they are pertinent to the plot in that way.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
This is not just for you, it's for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's still owned by Sony, so it looks not possible right now, but that doesn't really mean anything in our current landscape.
Nope.
Will
Monopolies exist everywhere.
Will we get a Tom Hardy, Tom Holland film at
Probably
some
not.
point?
Probably
No?
not. No.
Okay.
I
I don't
think
know. Sony was all over this movie production-wise.
Yeah.
The Pascal Pictures.
I mean-
This felt more like that than it did a Kevin Feige film when it comes to production credits and
it's
titles.
not just about what Sony wants. It's also about if they were to then include like this version of Spider-Man into the same universe
they're probably going to
as
be pretty
Venom.
they're probably going to be pretty disappointed with the Venom sequel results.
Well, if you're
Probably.
getting Andy Serkis to direct, what do you
That's a
expect?
That's a bad start.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like the money will be there if they just want to just make it happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it will. That's why I'm curious, because
I'm more interested in Tom Holland versus Woody Harrelson's Carnage.
I think that
Tom Holland versus Ronald McDonald.
So,
yeah, pretty much.
Returning to Far From Home,
Yeah.
there is one scene in this film that is obviously like the peak, not only just for this film, but it's actually probably one of the best set pieces in a Spider-Man film. Like, I don't think that I've been this impressed by like a fight in Spider-Man since Spider-Man 2, when you have Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man fighting Doc Ock on the side of a moving like subway car. Like, that still like ranks in my mind as like one of the coolest fucking like set pieces in a superhero film, just flat out, just bar none. But it's when Spider-Man is falling through like the maze of illusions that Mysterio is like setting up around him. I was like, that really is why you want a character like Mysterio in this sort of film, because he's just fucking weird and he does weird shit, and I love that. Yeah, and so I thought that was really, really cool. Other than that, I thought this film was, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I like it. Yeah, those are my initial thoughts.
Do you like this more than Captain Marvel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Yeah, kind of circling back to the whole topic about Captain Marvel, I like Captain Marvel's character. I just don't know if they know what to do with her. And how they I feel like they did her dirty in Avengers Endgame. They totally just like put her on the shelf until like they decided to like take her off for like the final act, and then she's just sort of like relegated to like, oh yeah, it's like now I have to play this little fucking escort mission for like Spider-Man so he can get to the fucking shrinking van bullshit box, and now we're gonna have like the girls montage, and now she's gone, now she's gonna fuck off back to some other corner of the universe, bye. And I was like, this is dumb.
Yeah, that girl's montage was not a high point.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's not that I have anything against that montage, not to circle back again to Endgame, because we already have our whole episode on it.
There's nothing against the idea.
All this shit folds over and onto itself, you know what I mean?
It's the execution of, here we go, they're together.
Like, did you really earn this shit? Or did you just happen to have a bunch of women in your fucking movies, and you didn't really put them at center to actually, like...
Forget about earning it.
Yeah.
They have this, like, we can do anything moment, and then...
Besides star in our own movie!
So I agree that they didn't.
Except for Captain.
Or
Yeah.
win that battle. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Right.
Like, you built it up like it was going to be a thing,
Yeah.
and then they just quickly are pushed away, and then... the men have to
Let the
come back.
men finish this.
Like, it like is trying to do something, but it almost makes it worse. I feel
Right.
like a little bit.
I mean, I agree that they don't know what to do with her, because in Endgame, I know we're not talking about this movie, but they very briefly hint when they blip for, or it's not the blip, when it's 5 years later and they're all in their own conversations and everyone's at their own station, you see the hint of, Rodney and her, because in the comics that's a huge thing. They are
Really?
they are together.
Really?
Yes,
That's
and
weird.
They very.
I thought that she actually had more chemistry on screen with, like, Peter Parker.
That's kind of weird.
That's a little weird.
I mean, no, but Captain Marvel and Peter Parker, I thought at some point had dated in the comics.
Well, maybe, but
No.
this Peter Parker is
Yeah, that's
16
true.
years old.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
I think that I agree that in
Consent
Endgame they
is
don't
very
know what to do with
important.
her. Yes. And her biggest.
I'm
It is
sorry.
important.
I thought this was the fucking comics. I read that.
Tucson with a very Joker-like reaction to that.
Okay, I'm done. Bye.
Here's what I'll say about Captain Marvel, and then I'll stop talking about that. But in her movie, and I believe that's why when she appears in Endgame, it's a really bad use for her, is that I feel like Captain Marvel, the movie, got Carol Danvers right, but did not get Captain Marvel. I wouldn't even say right, just to a point where it's purposeful on screen.
And you've read a lot of those Captain Marvel comics.
Yeah, I would say actually out of any property, because I was just got hooked on it, I read the original run back in the 70s, been spun off from the first Captain Marvel, and then I read a lot of the 2000 books and whatnot. But yeah, on the one hand, with Avengers Endgame saying that she went off to another planet, like that is what she does. She's an intergalactic, like Green Lantern's corpse-like, person. But on the other hand, just to have her show up to play convoy is pretty boring. So, but anyway. But I do not endorse her having sex with a 16-year-old, unlike Toussaint.
I did not say that. That's not what I meant to say.
Okay, but we have it on recording.
Well, I refute that.
Can someone play that back?
I was going to say,
Yeah.
Nick's putting things in people's mouths now. So it's
Anyway, well, I already gave my initial impressions of Spider-Man: Far From Home. Let's see who else's impressions.
Hey, Christina, do you want to?
Sure.
You are the guest of honor, so
Sure. So I have this thing where I see the Marvel movies as much as I'm a fan. I only think I really see them maybe 3 times max. The first time I'm overwhelmed with feelings. The second time
In theaters?
No, like just in general.
Oh, okay.
Just
Yeah.
in general. Like
Yeah.
the first time, I'm in awe. I have so many feelings.
Yeah.
The second time, I saw it this morning again just to refresh my brain,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very critical of it. There's a lot of things that I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
And then the third time, I go back and watch it because I'm like, I haven't seen this movie since it came out. So
How does it
it's-
age?
Yeah, does it still work?
Not well.
So I mean, it's really interesting to see this Peter Parker because I was such a Tobey Maguire fan.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire was my Spider-Man, and it wasn't until Homecoming where you see Peter really be that kid that got bit by a spider.
Yeah, we don't talk about the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that.
So I mean, I have such a hard time with these movies because no, I don't want to know that Uncle Ben has died again.
Yeah.
But the fact that we don't even really mention it kind of feels...
We see his initials on the suitcase.
Yeah. But the fact that there's no conversation about...
What, do you want a death certificate?
I would like it hung on the wall in Aunt May's house.
All of
body?
Peter's like male role models in this universe just keep on dying.
Yeah.
That's
So,
kinda
I mean,
fucked up.
I was a big fan of this movie as someone growing up the comics with the cartoon, and just really seeing Peter kind of come back from this because he's very traumatized. He is very, very traumatized. He's suffering from PTSD, whether he wants to talk about it or not. And I think it's just very interesting to see him from who he was in Homecoming. Because in Homecoming, he's that annoying kid calling Happy every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then this point, you're sending Nick Fury to voicemail. Like,
Yeah.
You grew some big balls to be able to do that.
Yep, that's what happens when you get blipped and then you blip back and then you fight Thanos.
Yeah, so, I mean... I just had a really fun time with this movie. I think the biggest thing was... When I saw it in theaters the first time, I watched no trailer. I was, very...
Oh, good for you.
I tried very hard.
Well
I was like,
done.
no,
Yeah.
let's go ahead. And as soon as Mysterio comes out, he's not from our world. I was screaming.
Yeah.
I was like, this is how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
This is where we're going to go. So I had a lot of issues. So then the second he hands over Edith, I'm just like, I knew it.
Yeah.
And
See, that wasn't so hard. And like he gives that shit-eating grin. I was like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
so-
that's why I showed up for this, you son of a bitch.
so I always like the tie-in between are you staying true to these comics or are you not? Because, there's the comics have so many different ways of you going. There's in one comic, Ned's Hobgoblin. Like, that's a whole other conversation.
That's weird.
Yes. I'm just like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the movie. Seeing it a second time, I definitely saw some inconsistencies that were just like little annoyances, but overall I was a big fan of this movie.
Like,
I think it
Inconsistencies in the way of like within this universe or with that of the source material.
just inconsistencies for these characters. Like, we're not going to acknowledge some of these things, like the professor who his wife faked blipping.
Yeah.
And she ran off with the hiking instructor.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk about
Yeah, that was play for laughs.
Yeah.
Just
you
having a
know,
laugh.
But
I laughed at that.
Just having a laugh. Yeah. That's kind of
Right.
fucked up. That's like some shit you'd see on The Leftovers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
No, that's actually literally they had the whole bureau to
Yeah.
investigate that.
yeah.
So, I mean, I had a fun time with this movie. You definitely see it as seeing this superhero as a 16-year-old. Like, I think that's what was so well done in Homecoming, especially when Peter's under the building and you hear him almost crying
Yeah.
because he's going to die. So
Yeah.
I think it's really nice to see him in the age that he's supposed to be and you realizing, oh my God, this is a child.
How did you feel about like the dynamic of him like making up all these plans, like take MJ out for, and he has like sort of like competition with like the other guy or whatever, Brad.
The only person that we get to see who aged 5 years, except it doesn't really matter because we didn't really know who he was anyway.
All right.
Yeah, so there's Brad. I mean,
Why is he still there?
They needed a
Because they said
romance.
you blipped back to whatever grade you were in.
But
he stayed during. He did not blip away. So Brad,
Right,
He was just younger, and now he just happens to be in the same grade now.
He's caught up
So
to
wait,
them.
he was younger.
Yeah, so Brad was 5 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
They all apparently this
Oh,
whole
I got you.
group
that
blipped
makes much more
away.
sense.
Right.
So,
He
okay,
He didn't
okay.
blip.
Yeah.
Everybody else
He
blipped.
was
So
the
he is the
one.
same age as them now.
Now
but he
he
was
is.
not previously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
Brad's
more sense.
just a
And
pervert.
that's why he was not thought of as a threat before in
Yeah.
the previous installment.
Sure.
Oh my
he
god,
wasn't.
it all checks out.
It all now makes sense.
Yeah.
This whole Michelle relationship is very different and very interesting. I'm a big fan of Zendaya. I think she plays her very well.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole we're getting her the black dahlia flower because murder. It's just falling into the trope of everyone with these murder podcasts.
Yeah.
That's why it's relevant, not because she actually has an interest in this or she doesn't have feelings.
She's just kind of a weird.
It's
not weird, but she's very introverted. She's kind of morbid. She has like this gallows humor about her. She's not like
It's a different Mary Jane.
She's very different. She's not fiery. She's not very like.
Yeah, so it's not the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like who she is as a character. I don't know who she's supposed to be because they've created her primarily for this cinematic universe.
I feel like her characters, like I like what they did with her character, but I feel like they toned it down so much for regular audiences. They can be like, "Oh, she's just a depressed person. It's fine."
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that she does seem like she could be a very interesting character, but unfortunately, it's like, nope, we're just going to make it really easy, like you say, about like hitting on like the really like simple tropes of her being like into that because of some sort of podcast or whatever. I mean,
it's going to be, you're going to look back at that and it's not going to age well. It's
No.
going to be like, oh yeah, that's when everyone was obsessed with those types of things.
well, and
Kind of like in Hobbs and Shaw, where they kept on talking about fucking Game of Thrones over and over
Yeah,
again.
that's not going to age well.
Yeah, it didn't age well in the theater.
the other thing about Game of Thrones that was weird, and we're not going to get into Hobbs and Shaw
Nope.
much more because that is a shit movie.
Yeah, that's the official film taking verdict. It's shit.
I also like how this movie takes on his Spidey sense. I think that's something that was super interesting for
Oh, you mean
for
the
his
Peter-
Peter Tingle.
Peter Tingle.
Please don't call it a tingle, May.
Yeah.
I just because that's something that he goes through in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a big fan of that, because it's always so hard to try to explain the sixth sense that you have.
Yeah.
So I really do like how they do that. I'm really a big fan of his character development. I'm not a big fan of Aunt May. I hate Aunt Hottie. I despise
Aunt Hottie?
That's what she's called. That's what Iron Man calls her.
Yeah.
And I just
Hot Aunt May.
it's hot Aunt May.
She's sidelined in this movie. So
She has
it
too
doesn't
much
even
screen
matter.
time, if you ask me.
Wow.
Whoa.
I could do
She's
it.
for like 4 minutes.
She's back.
Yeah.
She's
4
back at
minutes
home
too
working at the
She's at the beginning?
at the
Has a-
foundation.
has a
She makes
fling
he makes
with the-
one call to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Happy's
she's at the
eating her
end.
lunch.
And she's dating Happy.
No,
Yeah.
that's a summer fling.
At the summer fling.
I just because that's another thing that I guess I would like to know for the whole Uncle Ben thing. Like, how long has it been?
How long has it been?
Happy as Uncle Ben.
Happy is her new Uncle Ben.
So
Uncle Happy.
I guess that's
Ugh.
my big issue is, there's that running joke online that each time they remake Spider-Man, both Peter and May get younger and younger. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I'm with you in the sense that when they casted Marissa Tomei, and then people made the jokes, and then the movies make the joke that she's the hot Aunt May and whatever. I'm with you in the sense that now that we've seen 2 movies with her, they have not done anything with her to justify changing the dynamic between Peter and Aunt May in that way, because that does change the dynamic. She seems like a cool aunt instead of one who's perpetually worried and
she was
almost like
always worried about rent.
yeah,
She
like
was always
persistently, I would say, nagging Peter, and I don't mean that in a pejorative, but just like, you need to do this, you need to take care of yourself. Whereas she's more just like, don't worry about it, you're good, take your suit. Like,
sick. Let's go out to dinner and get this Thai food.
I agree, it's just kind of
I feel like she hasn't really had a character, though.
I guess.
she hasn't. So I'm just saying, at least in my opinion, I think it would have been a slightly more productive to just stick with what we know, because at least we have a framework of that Aunt May to bounce off of, but that's
Yeah, I just think it's interesting how they present some of these things. Like, when Mysterio brings the water monster, like, I'm like, oh, that is Hydro Man. but we're not going to talk about that. We don't want to overwhelm it like we did in Spider-Man 3, where there's way too many villains.
We don't talk about Spider-Man 3 here.
So it's just one of those things that's very interesting to see. I mean, the whole Europe thing is, in the comics, this isn't the first time he goes to Europe. He dons another costume in Europe, but it's to save his family, or find out about his family's name because they were Russian spies.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I remember that from the Spider-Man cartoon.
So it's interesting to see how they play parts of this universe. So I think they're doing a decent job. I like who Peter is. I had a lot of issues with just seeing it the second time and Nick Fury, because now you're so much aware of the secret twist.
Yeah, that
That's
makes no sense.
That's a stupid twist.
It was a terrible twist.
That's a contrived
because,
twist.
I think the problem that we came into is the last time we saw Nick Fury was in Captain Marvel. We were introduced to a whole new Nick Fury. So you just think of him as this happy-go-lucky, I haven't lost my eye yet, and I'm bitter. So I had a hard time with Nick Fury in this movie.
I had a hard time with Nick Fury. He had a hard time with his eye, too.
Yeah, so, I mean, just the rebuilding after the whole, these are the new Avengers. So I'm interested to see where it goes. I definitely like who this Peter Parker is. I like this movie. I think it stayed true to who he is as a superhero.
I feel like in this movie, they didn't want to do anything with his character that would establish much other than in the post-credit scene, as they have no idea where they're going.
No.
They just wanted it to be this single-serving story, which honestly is fine, based on what some of the previous Marvel installments have been. But other than in the post-credit scene where we have his identity revealed, which is actually a nice reversal on what happens with Iron Man, where he announces who he is, and here it gets told to people who Peter Parker is. So it's a really nice sort of, reverse angle from that. But at the same time, it felt like this is a story that they just wanted to make sure they had another Spider-Man film Tom Holland is still able to play a 16-year-old version of Spider-Man.
He'll be able to play forever because they're going to de-age them.
I mean, he's only 23.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying,
that's
what they're already doing it for It Chapter 2.
Yeah.
That they're going to de-age because they grew too much within the 1-2 year, which I get, but at this point,
it's probably easier to
be hilarious.
de-age people a couple years than the Irishman.
Probably, but it's still going to become the norm to the point where nothing matters anymore.
I suppose so.
Nothing
It should
anymore.
Just die.
Yeah.
I do say the only thing is, I kind of wish we went into Peter's powers a little more, because we can see that he makes his own webbing. Because something he says in the first part of the movie when he's fighting with Mysterio is like, "I can help. I'm strong and I'm sticky." And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
You got a little more there, but
Yeah.
I think there, to be fair, he was trying to play coy about who he was in case. That's how I took that scene. But anyway.
Yeah.
So I thought this movie was pretty mediocre, to be totally honest with everybody. I, for the most part, have really enjoyed the Marvel movies, all 23 of them, or however many there are at this point. But
too many.
it's getting to feel like that a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, it felt like that a long
It's
time ago.
been felt like that.
I mean, they toss in a really good one every once in a while, and that's the thing. That's what keeps you coming back. But the percentages of them being really good are dwindling.
You make it sound like it's a gambling machine. And just like, just gotta keep on pulling that lever and make sure that maybe this will be the one that's good out of the 8 that they released this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I will say at least there is for sure a bit of a reprieve here for a while, as even though there's a couple releases next year, there's no major films coming out next year. I don't think there's a major film coming out till the Thor movie in 2021.
Yeah.
Isn't Black Widow coming out first?
So that is the only major one.
Yeah.
That one's coming out in November next year.
Yeah. But in the meantime, you can watch all of the exciting exclusive content on Disney Plus, where you can watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I heard that bombed.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
pilot audiences.
or you can watch WandaVision.
Yeah.
Hey, WandaVision, I'm not entirely against.
I want to
Yeah.
know what happens.
Well, Tom King's The Vision is
I know.
one of the greatest comic books ever written. compared to that's
Damn.
what some people have said, and I read it and I thought it was fantastic.
Okay.
So I'm here for any kind of actual thorough look at the relationship between those two.
And then there's Doctor Strange into the multiverse of madness.
No
which,
one's going to give a shit about that.
Well, I'm interested. Just because it sounds really campy and weird, and they said they're going to lean into horror, and I'm just like, what is horror in this universe, though? Is it really going to be horror? Because we tried horror with the New Mutants, and that still hasn't come out yet.
It might never come out.
It might never come out, or it might, come out on.
Gambit is really never coming out.
What's that?
Gambit. That one's.
Oh, well, at least that hasn't been made.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So that's if we have to think about a movie never coming. Is
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Which, thank God.
The only thing that Gambit has going for it is Channing Tatum seems pretty intent on playing that character at some point.
Maybe in the MCU. Maybe later.
So to continue on what I was saying, I just I've never really been a big Spider-Man fan, so that kind of disconnects me from anything related to his character. That being said, I've enjoyed certain parts of these films over the many years, but at the same time, when they have like slowly went from Spider-Man 2 to where we are now, even though a lot of people loved Into the Spider-Verse, and I thought it was pretty good too, but there was a long lull there where I was like, "Ow!" Everyone's agreeing with me because Spider-Man isn't that great. But anyways, where we are now, I just thought overall this particular movie was just very mediocre for me. There just wasn't enough here to really get me excited for his character. And again, he's already playing a disadvantage for me personally because I don't really like Spider-Man that much. So him being in this film, the storyline with Mysterio, which I thought was for the most part crap, and everything that surrounds the entire storyline with Mysterio being an co-worker of Tony Stark and being pushed aside, and he's angry because Tony Stark cut his funding and stole his project.
Tony Stank cut my funding, and I'm mad.
And I
named it Barf.
Yeah.
So the thing, though, is that they literally showed one of your favorite all-time Marvel moments.
What's that?
The Jebediah Stone.
Oh, the
Which I thought that was pretty.
Tony Stark built this in a cave.
I thought that
with
was
a
pretty
pile of
funny that
scraps.
out of any line or whatever that would be, because then I just thought about you.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then I got hard.
because of the line or because you thought of me?
I'm gonna leave that up to the viewer.
How mysterious.
Hey,
Mysterio.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was wide open as well.
Oh my God.
I didn't want to be that on the nose, but all right.
Oh, you're on the wrong podcast. No, I mean, okay, but that this.
No,
movie-
I didn't think that was gonna make you like the movie.
Oh,
or whatever.
no,
But when that happened, I was like,
Did
oh,
you say
wow.
Jebediah Stain?
Whatever his name
It's
is.
Obadiah Stane.
Obadiah, but that's fine. Jebediah would make more sense. But
Yeah, actually.
So everything that surrounded that scene felt totally like we're going to find these random Marvel moments that involve Tony Stark, and we're going to put somebody in there, even if it's not the same actor. Because Peter Billingsley is 30 years younger than the actor who played him in that movie. And it's like, what the fuck? And so that part...
Maybe those scenes didn't happen, and Mysterio created those. And Mysterio is not only working Peter, but he's also working
The dream
audience.
is collapsing.
What if Mysterio
Jesus.
made the illusion that Cliff Booth fought Bruce Lee
We're not
in
gonna-
Once Upon a
we're
Time
not gonna do
Hollywood?
this.
What if
Yeah, maybe.
nobody blipped?
So, anyways, I will say the Mysterio angle was a little disappointing for me. That being said, the scene that Tucson referenced earlier was absolutely a standout portion of this film. Especially, we see Iron Man crawling out from Tony Stark's grave. I mean, that's just an awesome visual.
Yeah.
Everything that surrounds that, between like the hazy view, I think he's on a subway or a train.
Stupid Peter. He wouldn't be crawling out of his own grave. They gave him a Viking funeral. He didn't have a grave, dumbass.
Anyways,
All right.
everything surrounding that scene I thought was really awesome and fun to look at and made the film that much better. But then you have other moments, like the fact that they had this great opportunity to be using all of the blipped people, or whatever you want to call them, and have that storyline come to play for humor purposes or for any sort of other dramatic effects if you wanted to throughout the story. And that aspect is completely just washed away after the first 6 minutes of this movie. And I thought that was just a total missed opportunity. So,
You're saying you didn't like the tribute that they did? They worked so hard on PowerPoint. Whitney Houston singing in the background.
I mean, that's okay, because I actually did kind of appreciate that, because my high school did something very similar. Now that's...
Oh, no.
That's... Yeah. Now, in fairness, I went to high school between 2001 and 2005, so the technology was actually somewhat close to what they were using. So
I went to high school literally the next cycle, and it was still right there.
Yeah.
At least for a high school budget.
Yeah. So that part of it I appreciated, but, everything else surrounding it was like, I love that. One of my favorite parts of this film, and it's a really stupid part of it, but whatever. One of my favorite parts is when they show the gymnasium and like the security footage, and you see all the people disappearing, and then 5 years later, them all showing up in the same spot again. I thought it was great, but overall, I thought this movie was.
That means a lot of people must have died when they came back, right?
More than half.
I'm just saying, someone blips in traffic. What, they're going to blip right back into Highway 60?
Yeah, like you blipped right where you disappeared.
Yeah.
If you're driving.
So not only did people blip back, but we also then got confirmation of a bunch of people's deaths. So also, did they blip back in the whatever state they were? Like, if they were if they were fucking somebody, did they literally just kind of like, oh, where'd you go? And 5 minutes later, someone else moved into that house. They're having a nice afternoon tea.
That house doesn't exist anymore.
No, but then all of a sudden they just hear, and they're just like, what is that? I mean, god damn it! And then they're like, oh god, are you okay?
So is that that's what you think that sex sounds like in movies, or was that a MacGruber reference?
The ultimate.
That was actually
The
very
ultimate
private.
aphrodisiac is blipping blipping mid-orgasm and then
that was
coming back literally 5 years later. He's going to be chasing that high for the rest of his life.
That was a very private moment that I drew from, and I don't feel comfortable outlining which of my memories that come from.
Okay, that's fair.
Return of the blip, man. It really.
Return of the blip.
I think that condom would still be good.
No.
Like, does the condom...
Serious answer from Chrissy.
No.
Do you know?
Shut up, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Because I don't. Oh, don't do that. Don't.
He hasn't had a great week.
Don't you throw me under that bus. No, not with him.
What?
I
Where'd
was
that come
saying
from?
that
I thought you were calling me
anything.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
If anything, no offense, but I was looking at Christina.
Ah,
I am
okay.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, okay. No, you're not. No. Don't,
Nobody
don't
is.
be hard on yourself.
No.
just
Yeah.
to be clear.
Yeah.
Toussaint just thinks that Nick's being racist, so
No.
that's great.
No.
I mean, to go back from that, like,
I mean,
like the
About used condoms?
not unused condoms, but to go further back
Yeah.
about the whole PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
Are they basically telling me that Cap came back and now he's dead? Like, is Cap gone, or are we just thinking like he's an old
they
man, he's
assume,
gonna
I
die?
believe, that he died. Like, I don't think anyone really knows what
That he's
happened
an
to
old
him,
man?
so they just assume that he died.
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody-
that's the official S.H.I.E.L.D. cover story.
Yeah.
Does
That's how
Shield
I
even
took it.
exist still?
Shield's not around.
Not to
anymore.
mention, he'd be... Well, I guess
Well,
he
he's-
wouldn't be dead because he's
almost
alive.
dead.
He's just old. But anyway, I think the idea is
He's
that
running for president. Joe Biden.
I saw that and I can't stop laughing at that.
Oh my God. No.
So that was, I think,
Pretty
the biggest
close.
thing that like popped into my head the second time around. I was like, wait.
The last thing I will say about overall is that I felt like the final scene actually was pretty good. I enjoyed a lot of Happy with the kids running around. Like, it felt like something I would have seen on like a Nickelodeon show, to be totally honest
yeah,
with
but
you.
it was
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
I
didn't think it was
worked
bad.
with Spider-Man, not for
for.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That was good.
And there's they're running through the museum with the masks, and they're in the room, and like it got like a very like Legend of the Hidden Temple vibe.
Yeah.
Like it was
And
good.
he got an actual good line in there when he throws that shield.
How does Cap do that?
Yeah, so that was pretty good, actually.
And then everything that happened outside London Tower, I thought was also pretty good. I felt like it could have been better, but I thought that last scene actually worked out pretty well. But overall, as a film, I just was kind of just meh on this.
I will say, as far as that third act, climatic, whatever, as much as I was slightly lukewarm on that first post-credit scene with J. Jonah Jameson and the Quentin Beck footage, the first thought I had during the climactic fight when he said execute them all, I was like, wow, that's really bad if that gets taken out of context, and I genuinely wasn't thinking about that, so I'm glad that was at least purposeful, because I'm like, who just shouts that?
Yeah, that's another thing about that J. Jonah Jameson cameo. I already knew before going in that he was going to be in this film, and I was looking forward to seeing that scene, and I was really excited to see it. I wasn't really all that jazzed about the depiction of him being this sort of mock Alex Jones, like alt conservative. No, that is totally that scene is totally tailored to look like the stage from InfoWars.
Rip his shirt off, and
no, you don't have to rip your shirt off to be like Alex Jones.
You
I think
kind of do. That's like a signature move.
I think.
He's also not selling healing eye drops or anything like that. So.
We don't know.
He didn't say Sandy Hook was fake.
No, he's just like on some bullshit.
He just looked like a Fox pundit,
I think he definitely looked like InfoWars.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe you're projecting.
I don't think I'm projecting. I think I'm actually pretty on board.
InfoWars doesn't get fucking posted on a goddamn building.
I mean, even though
New York,
even though Tucson, I'm
the network.
I'm with
I
what you're
get
saying.
that it's a cross
Yeah.
between.
I'm with what you're saying, but
I just don't think they sat down.
I think it's explicitly coded to like make the Daily Bugle out to be like sort of this like.
I don't necessarily know if it wouldn't be in this era.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And it's
Well,
like I
you
like
don't like that either, then.
I wasn't a fan of that depiction. It was nice to see J. Jonah Jameson again.
Just to comment on that, I guess, I did not know it was going to happen. I saw this when it came out on that random Tuesday. It came out before 4th of July.
Yeah.
So I saw it on opening night, basically.
On Tuesday.
Yes. Factually true.
Yeah.
And I did not know it was coming. And I absolutely loved it because the idea of having these cross-universe type things happen with people, I'm super on board for, even though he's not necessarily playing the same character. He's playing the same character. And I just think that there's no one else who can really play that other than J.K. Simmons. So
Except
I agree.
if he played it like he does in this movie, then I feel like a lot of people can play that character. Because in the Tobey Maguire movies, nobody else can play that character like J.K. Simmons. But here, he was just a guy who stepped into the green screen for 1 second and was like, I remember
in
doing
fairness,
this.
he was in 14 seconds of a post-credit scene. So it's
He
not,
was, but he's such a meme of a character that it shouldn't have been hard to recreate that kind of, get me pictures of Spider-Man in less than 5 seconds. But
okay. Anyways, that being said, why don't we move on to your initial thoughts, Nick?
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hear your initial thoughts.
I mean, that's pretty much my initial thought.
Nah.
I thought this was just not great, and I don't really care for it, and it's not that bad. But I thought it was better than Homecoming because I really did not care for that for whatever reason. It rubbed me the wrong way. So I thought this was a little better. I think Tom Holland is fantastic as Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So you say Peter Holland.
Tom
Peter
Parker.
Holland.
Tom Parker was great in this. Yeah.
But no, I think Tom Holland is genuinely a fantastic Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Peter Parker. Pick up.
You know what, you guys?
Pick up.
This is my last episode.
I
lied. I'm coming back for the 200th episode.
Pick a pint of pecker.
And then
peppers.
I'm quitting. And not because we've already pre-recorded it.
That's right. We still got to record that.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Toussaint will no longer be on the show either. It'll just be Alex.
He'll also be skipping the 200th, even though we've
Yeah. You know what? We just won't release it. It'll be like the goddamn Snyder Cut.
It'll be a awkwardly edited episode where all of his parts just happen to be missing.
Oh my god!
Long pauses in between.
I was gonna say
everyone.
it'll be like a really bad Hollywood B movie. It'll be great.
It'll be like when Isaac Hayes left South Park and they had to like just chop all of his like old,
Hayes.
all of his old like voice lines in order to like be in that one episode.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard, it'll be just like Isaac Hayes. Like, that's just... Whew.
Isaac Hayes in South Park too. That's great.
I mean, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I thought it was fine. I thought it was kind of bad. I actually liked the Mysterio plot line. Like, I was bored by it until the whole, the midway point. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is fun now. And I thought pretty much the school kids were pretty good for the most part, except for Brad and Flash, because mean people are just not cool anymore.
Nope,
and
they're not cool.
I thought that actually the one joke that never got old for me, so I can totally understand though why it would for anyone else, but was actually all the jokes between Ned and his girlfriend for the trip. I actually thought
yeah.
mostly because I thought it was actually kind of adorable. Like,
Yeah.
it never veered into actual, like, mocking territory or anything like that. So, like, every single, oh, babe,
Oh,
whatever.
babe.
Like, I just thought that was funny. And
Baby, stop texting me.
Yeah. And then he just
Sleeping.
broke up like as soon as they got back home. And he was like, sometimes people just grow apart. And I'm just like, shut up, Ned.
I went
It
to
was
this
just
trip
so
a
great.
man. I came home, or yeah.
I went to this trip a child and I came home a man. I'm just like, I don't want to.
yeah.
this boy met a woman.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so I thought that was good. I enjoy the fact that we live in a world where Martin Starr became, or I should say, came on the scene as a bumbling, awkward teenage high schooler, and he's now probably going to be most well known to a younger generation as a bumbling, awkward teenage high school teacher. So I think that's kind of funny. And
His best scene, no matter what, is him talking with. I'm pretty sure it's him talking with Paul Rudd in Knocked Up, where because he plays like a super stoner in Knocked Up, and he goes over to the house to collect Seth Rogen, and he go to Seth Rogen's house. He needs to get his suit, and everyone is staying in because they have pink eye.
right?
And he comes to the door, and his eyes are just red, and he's like, "Man, you got her bad." "No, I'm just really fucking high." Just the way he says it is fucking awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
Martin Starr is actually a really good actor.
He is. No,
doesn't
he's
get a
one of
lot
the greatest
work.
parts of the comedy underrated Party Down that
Yeah.
aired on Stars, I believe. So anyway, so some of the comedic bits I thought were funny. Some of really none of the action I thought was compelling. But I liked the fact that because it was fake in a way, that there was at least some intellectual thought going into how the visual effects themselves were spaced out geographically and the way Peter Parker moves through them, and then literally through them and whatnot. So I did like that kind of visual motif that Mysterio, the villain, brought to this whole proceedings. But overall, I definitely thought there was a lot of promise there that could have been much more tapped into with regards to having a fun kind of European field trip. This mostly felt like, much like what I'm sure Peter felt like, a fun thing got hijacked to be something else, and while it may have been more pressing, it wasn't quite as entertaining. God damn, I'm good.
Damn, you're good. Damn, Spider-Man Euro Trip. Damn.
I mean, it's a lot of pressure to put on a movie
Excuse
after
me.
Endgame.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think
It's a lot of pressure to be putting on a kid who just wants to go on a
Exactly.
Euro trip and like talk to the girl that he likes.
I feel like it's been tough for this character because, first of all, they rushed him really bad.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
that was an accident.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They rushed him really bad into Civil War, even though his part in that wasn't really bad. Obviously, it was just like, holy shit, we got him. We have to make him appear in this. Let's make it happen. And then everything, that happened in this movie and also in Homecoming, not that they like really felt rushed, but at the same time, like these films weren't marinating for years like, like Thor Ragnarok was or something like that, where there was this long drawn out plan with the same director to have this film happen with this storyline. This was, we need to make a Spider-Man film happen in July of 2019, deliver that. And then you just got whatever you got. So I don't know. That's kind of my reading of it. So what other things did everybody not necessarily like, but have thoughts on throughout the entirety of the film? You mentioned a little bit about kind of the actions within like the tour bus and what's happening with the kids throughout their adventure. I like one aspect of the story that I did like is that they did actually play off their plans changing pretty well. This idea of,
Oh, the tour company just gave us
yes,
the tickets.
we were able to go here, so obviously we're just going to cancel what we're planning and go there. It's
Obviously, I want to go to the opera during what is one of the biggest parties.
okay. First of all, too,
Of the year.
I'm sorry, I've got to say this. I don't know why, but they went to an opera house that really felt like that one old theater at Sundance, so that was really weird to me.
Well, I think that was the joke that they didn't even get to go to a
real opera.
Because that, there's just a guy in a walker in the background.
Yeah.
There's no even...
But, okay, can you go to the opera in Europe and have it really be at like a shithole theater?
Maybe on
that
night?
I don't know. That was just kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
But I loved everything surrounding this progression of the plot of them having to go from different places. Like that felt genuine in terms of the story, and it actually felt earned of why they had to move all the way from this place with this set piece to this other one. Like it didn't just feel like, oh, we picked everybody up and dropped them here, and now they're in Paris
they're
or
kind of
something
just
like that.
lampshading it, so that way we don't have to ask questions anymore.
No, but it's still, I thought, was pretty good.
Absolutely.
I think I'm interested to see where these characters go because, like we've mentioned, they don't really know what they're doing with this movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole Flash Thompson is in this movie. He's the worst because there's so many variations of Flash where it's I was Peter's childhood best friend and now I'm popular and now we're not friends, or I'm just
do you
bully.
think that in this continuity that they're moving towards the Flash and Peter are best friends again as adults? No, okay.
No, I mean the biggest thing
because they keep saying the whole I love Spider-Man, and then at the very end, he's revealed. So then
maybe
there's got to be at least some kind of, if not reconciliation, some kind of awkward. Like, I guess I can't be mean to you because I.
That's another thing. The whole open revelation of him being Spider-Man at the end, and then just like smash cuts. And I was like, oh, what's going to happen next? Like that just feels like a.
So they did the
that's a reprise of what happened in Iron Man. Only like now it's not voluntarily like his own like choice. I mean, it's just this entire every single beat of this legacy is just being foisted on him.
Right, but that worried me because of the fact that tells me the MCU is just going to repeat the same thing for the next 23 films.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, as far as.
That part made you worry about that? Is like I feel like it's already been sort of telegraphed. That
obviously,
yes, right.
But I'm trying to say that we are starting a literal new arc, as they call it, because that was supposed to be the Infinity Saga, and this arc is going to start the exact same way that first movie ended.
And now it's the Infinity Tetralogy.
I mean, first of all, like.
A new Avengers team is going to form.
Yes, of course.
The leader has been outed. I mean, it's just
okay. But Tony Stark
chose
wanted to be that, and became clear because of that. Where now Spider-Man is like being almost framed as this villain.
That's not going to last.
No, but public opinion, and that is a pretty interesting tie-in with Mysterio's character, but public opinion now on him may honestly change somewhat. And also public opinion of the people around him may change.
Public opinion of the Avengers are always at an all-time low every time they start a movie, and they're like, man, they hate us because we just ruined that country, but what they don't understand is they need us. And then William Hurt comes in and goes, they need you guys. And then William Hurt leaves. And then they're like, where's Edward Norton? They're like, we don't talk about him. And then that's about it.
Okay. I think
we don't talk about him.
I was saying earlier, but I think that was actually a pretty nice inverse from Iron Man's story.
But why are we even inversing? Yeah. Like, why are we not just telling a whole new story? Why aren't we like literally? I mean, if you were okay, here's what I'll say. If you were to truly liken the MCU to comics, one thing that comics do is, after a huge arc, after a huge run, bring in new writers. And they feel different. I mean, Tom King's Batman is completely different from Scott Snyder's Batman, and they're only separated by a year or two from when they passed over. And so, because Kevin Feige, or whatever his name is still... Fucking Feige.
Fahey.
Is it really?
Fahey.
Fahey?
Fahey.
That's even fucking stupider.
Kevin Fahey.
But because
man's name. Whatever, he's a billionaire who gives a shit.
Yeah. Kevin, but he's still at the reins of like what the MCU should be, that these stories are going to bleed themselves dry and bleed into each other to the point where, I'm sorry, but I did not think that was like, I mean, yes, like it's fun to say like, oh, but see, this time they did it upside down, and I just don't.
I mean, I see where Nick's going. Like, what's going to happen? And 23 movies later, we're going to have cram everybody into another big movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, yeah. No matter what, I'll still bring it back to, even though people like to shit on it, the DC movies, the last one that came out feels a lot different than the first one that came out. So,
true.
Well, the first one that came out was shit.
I mean, it was, but I'm just saying that's a tonal choice. They decided this is what we want to do. This is okay. Now I'm
Which
not
one are you
saying,
counting as first? Are you counting Batman v Superman, or are you counting Man of Steel? Yeah.
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying from
in fairness, it's taken DC a long time to find out what they're actually.
yeah, but I
can
didn't
do
have to
with their
sit through
characters.
nearly as many shitty movies to get there.
Okay, but I feel like Marvel had plenty of movies in their early existence that were passable, if not good.
Iron
where
Man 2.
Iron Man 2 is just a pile of dog shit.
Yeah.
But you look at the original Iron Man. I mean, the first Captain America is one of my favorite ones from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You look at DC, and they just keep getting worse and worse and worse. Man of Steel is really bad, but after that, it just kept going the wrong direction, and now they've figured out the kind of things that works, and it's something that's totally different from what Marvel is doing.
Yeah, we're 24 films in, or something like that, 23 or 24, and if I hear that we're going in a different direction one more time, I'm gonna fucking stab myself, because we're not, and I just don't see it whatsoever. I think we're going in the same direction, and that's why I'll still be able to tolerate these movies, because they're there and they don't like completely suck, but we're not going to get some kind of fun, like, actual, somebody gets to come in and do their thing. James Gunn is really the only person who got to actually establish his own style.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not saying it's super different from the house style, but those movies do things that are different than the rest,
I
even
feel
if
like
it's
those
superficial.
films move the needle as to what Marvel thought that they were capable of doing tonally with those sort of films. There is definitely a before and after sort of vibe with regards to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
not just
and the worst
within
part
Marvel
is
films,
that
but just
even
with
movies
superhero
like
films.
this-
No, I definitely would argue that. So.
I'd agree with that. And,
Yeah.
But then the worst part is that then like we have movies like Far From Home, which are then influenced by Guardians of the Galaxy, which is really not
But
supposed to be a thing.
But if
It should be its own thing.
to what you're talking about, Nick, though, I mean, Marvel put a stake in the ground a bit early on. I mean, not early on, but like 4 or 5 years ago when they fired Edgar Wright from being the Ant-Man director.
Yeah.
Like they said, that's too weird for us. We don't want that. Like Doctor Strange is like kind of weird,
That's
but not
super
really.
Weird. I'm not a fan of Doctor Strange.
Okay, but it's really just the same shit in a different package.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Mambuntu! That's his name.
That scene really just
Yeah.
sunk that movie. I actually like Doctor Strange. I
Yeah.
think it's a decent movie.
Yeah.
That scene was stupid.
Yeah, it was a stupid scene. I like the scene when Strange is confronting his mentor for the first time. Like, he doesn't really believe that they're able to do the things they can do, and just like sending his entire mind
Because they can't.
on a trip to the astral.
Bullshit.
Sending his mind on a trip to the astral plane, and that's really fucking cool. I thought that was a really cool, defining like statement of purpose for
It's
like.
very strange.
Yeah, that's the whole point, and I like that. Yeah.
All right, so to go over any notes I have about this
Oh,
movie.
please
Please.
do.
Please do.
We're
focus
struggling
in.
here.
Yeah.
This movie, like, I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so
Yeah.
it was. I definitely see like where it fell flat because it's coming off of really big shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the biggest elephant in the room is: are we going to talk about Fury not being Fury?
That's lame.
I was not a fan of
That's
that.
a lame
at
ass,
all.
not twist.
I enjoyed it up until when Nick just mentioned to me that it made no sense.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you told me that
That's all
was
it
a
took.
twist, which because I asked, and so I went and saw it for the very first time and probably the last time last night, and I thought the entire time, okay, so that's not Nick Fury and Maria Hill, and then like after the second scene, I'm like, that's not Nick Fury and Maria Hill, and then by the third scene, I'm like, okay, so I don't want to like give them Oscars, but man, these Skrull couples really know how to act like.
I mean, they can like assume their DNA
Yeah.
and assume their appearance, but they can't assume their. I was
Personality.
gonna say.
And also, if a Skrull is in Samuel L. Jackson's body and uses the N-word, what are the moral implications of that? No, like, genuinely, let's hash this out for a second.
Yeah.
Let's hash this out.
Yeah.
Is that allowed, Toussaint?
I think, you know what? I think that technically constitutes as blackface.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably about right.
So,
I feel like that's really leaning into some
I mean-
even stranger, like Prejudice itself is just such a strange
Dr. Stranger.
alien sort of mindset.
Yeah.
But to have that, like, have an alien then transform themselves into a black man and then start saying stuff like, "What? I'm black now." It's like, are you though? You're really not. That's kind of weird. Like,
Would he be telling people he's black now?
I mean,
I'm black.
I'm black.
Show me some respect.
Oh my god.
I mean, the biggest thing I took away from that was Maria Hill really does not like being called ma'am, because both times she was like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But couldn't that have been a Marie Hill thing?
we don't see her enough to kind of.
No, and that's why
Know her.
it pretty much worked for her, but it didn't work for either of them when they had to talk to each other. Because there are scenes when they're all alone that they're like, "Fury, I swear to God," and it's like, what? How are you that ingrained in this narrative that doesn't exist?
They're acting.
Well, because that's a big thing too. It's like they haven't
maybe,
seen Fury
yeah.
since they left.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what we're going to see in the next movie is how this came.
I really don't think
It'll be
I don't-
disregarded.
I didn't think it's going to be
We're not
entirely disregarded. We're not going to talk about it anymore.
It
It's
sucks because in a
entirely
movie
forgettable.
like this, the idea of visual trickery is like right there for you thematically. So like, I like the twist. But man, if that's what they knew what they were going to do,
It really
they
doesn't
could have had a
tie
lot of fun with
in
it
any way material
and had
to
a
the actual-
few moments of just kind of ambiguity of like when you watch it the first time going, why would he say that? You know what I mean?
Without previously having knowledge of it, like just same thing with the
Yeah.
J. Jonah Jameson scene. When I saw the second post-credit scene for the first time, I thought to myself, "Oh, well, that's kind of cool."
It's a
But
good idea.
thinking that, I think execution just need to be better because there need to be more confusion and things that would, for the audience, that would be like, "Well, that's weird." Like, there should have been a couple moments throughout the film, and again, I haven't seen it a second time, but there should have been a couple moments where it seemed like they should not, like they were doing things that were weird for their characters. And you could have even explained
the
it.
first-
Yeah, you could have said the blip got to him.
Yes!
Yes, exactly.
Exactly,
Oh
right.
my God.
I know.
Let's make out.
We're on,
Sorry, what were you about
What
to
was
say?
that?
I was about to say the same thing, so
okay,
that's
good.
fine.
Well, I mean,
But-
in the first 5 minutes of the movie, like Maria, because I saw it this morning, so it's fresh in my head. Maria looks at Fury and is like, "Just because it's blah blah blah, Nick." And if you had seen Captain Marvel, you know, no one calls him Nick.
Yeah, well,
So,
that's good.
There-
But
that was-
that's a little deep for a
For
mainstream
how Marvel
audience.
works.
They really thought this through. I'm just like, I don't care.
I mean, coming fresh off, Captain Marvel and
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually do quite like that. Actually, to be totally honest with you, I think probably could have been done better throughout the film. But
Yeah,
I'm
I was
interested.
not a fan of the Skrull surprise. I was not here for it. I was like,
No.
Well, especially because that's such a big thing in the comics. Like, anytime you want to kill somebody, anytime you want to turn somebody, you just retcon it and say they were a Skrull. So it's like, if we're already doing that now, only 2 films after introducing them into the cinematic universe, that's not a good sign.
It would have been way more impactful too if they would have done something like that too, where not necessarily killing them, but something happens with one of their characters, and then it's revealed that in the actual film itself that they're a Skrull, but they save it.
You would have believed it.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
it's the first movie kind of out of the
Sure.
gates.
I
and
don't
yeah.
know what to believe
they
anymore,
say-
says Peter.
yeah.
The other thing about that final scene that was really weird is just the idea that Nick Fury is hanging out in this spaceship where he's like trying to surround himself with video screens to make it seem like he's on a beach, but really he's hanging out with the other Skrulls.
Yeah, what is he doing on that
Why
ship?
would-
You're just gonna have to wait until the next Marvel MCU film to find out why
Forget
is he on that ship.
Forget about that. Why would his character be doing that? Like, he's been this, like...
Because he's just relaxing.
Why is the Skrull a
Okay.
more accurate Nick Fury
The Nick Fury.
than the Nick Fury?
Because he's changed, man.
and like, when did the change happen?
I mean,
All
well,
these
probably during the
his
blip.
time away.
During the blip. Yeah, he had a lot of time to think in the not space.
It's blip in time.
Yeah, it's blip in time. Yeah. Yeah.
Should we have a final rating?
I
Well,
think
did you have anything else on your
No,
notes?
I think
That was it?
those are all my. So let's skim through these notes.
Okay,
real quick.
that's definitely a good idea.
So, here we go. So that was my red flag. The whole joke of Europeans love Americans. Okay, Ned.
Yeah.
There was that. I
Yeah.
definitely had issues with that.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of reading through. Oh, I definitely thought the only thing that made me laugh really hard is how Brad, 5-year-old blip Brad, catches Peter with the
lady.
the
Yeah.
German
Yeah.
lady.
Hey, if you want to do that, it's like I'm not here to like question your
First
life
off,
choices.
What 16-year-old would judge that? You would be like, how can that happen to me?
Yeah, that didn't quite make sense.
Yeah, like you're
How did
telling-
that happen to you,
Yeah.
and how can that happen
Like-
to me?
So like that was a huge thing.
Although
I'm
he's
like, you're really
trying to get with MJ. Though.
He's trying to get with
still-
MJ.
You're a 16-year-old boy. You're gonna get with anything.
Yeah.
Well, right, but he's trying to make him look bad, so she'll get with him.
Yeah. It's a
using
contest.
Really stupid male logic.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing. And then the whole when they're
The drone strike?
no. But the other big thing I had issue with was, Ned, who is the only FOS friend of Spider-Man, is like, Peter, don't let them come to us. And that's so much more pressure on your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, he's saving a neighborhood, not the world.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so I'm interested to see where it goes. I liked the movie first view. Second view, it was a little hard.
I don't think like Spider-Man's allowed to be Spider-Man. I think he's just now made out to be the new Iron Man. That's my main problem with
Yeah.
the depiction of. I mean, everything else about Spider-Man, I like the casting.
I mentioned the first. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, continue.
But to go off that thread,
Yeah.
if you take this as a sequel to Homecoming, I don't mean like direct, but
Right,
obviously 1-to-1, that movie is all about him wanting to be the next Iron Man, and Iron Man's like, no, kid. And then this movie is all about
Oh,
Iron
fuck,
Man's
now
like
you
dead,
gotta- now
so
you
now
gotta
he's
be-
just like, oh man, you're the only one. I don't know that enough movies in between have really cemented that.
So Black Panther doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
That was
Thor is fat and gone. And,
Would he even know that Captain made that choice?
Yeah, that's actually a good question.
So, anyway.
Did he watch Disney Plus?
Ooh.
Ooh.
I bet Disney Plus is actually Disney TV.
Oh yeah, we
for
also
Tony.
have we got the Blade movie. We got Guardians of the Galaxy 3 coming out somewhere in that slate of films that are coming out in the next couple of years. They didn't really announce the date for that. They
Doctor
just-
Strange
Guardians
is
is
coming
not
out.
part
They were
of
being
this group.
cagey
It's just somewhere.
for dates in general.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they just kind of listed the movie in chronological order, whereas the first time I ever did that, they were like month, year, and obviously
This,
they
this,
changed
this.
it. But
The two movies that were announced that people gave a shit about were Thor with Natalie Portman being Lady Thor, and
Which everyone's mad about.
Blade.
I'm just like, get out.
mad about.
Oh, so many.
well, I
Really?
mean, Geek Bros.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
okay.
I guess they're mad at the
Especially
com-
because they kept sharing the picture of her holding the hammer, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Look how tiny she is."
I
I'm
don't
like,
give a shit.
Oh yeah, because Chris Hemsworth was big enough to wield the hammer that nobody else can wield. Like,
Yeah, nobody cares.
Anyway.
Like they're mad about that. They're mad about the actual Thor comic that arc is based around. I don't really give a shit. Like nerds gonna get mad about some shit.
They're always gonna get mad.
They're always gonna get mad. Like it's just background noise at this moment.
But yeah,
It's
let's
like,
do final ratings as a. I'm good.
let's do it. Yeah.
Listening to everyone.
She's ready
really,
to.
I'm ready.
Get the fuck out of
I'm
here.
Well,
ready.
no,
It's
listening
great.
to it has like changed my opinion throughout. 'cause
Oh, no.
Not in a bad way.
No.
It just,
Okay.
like I said,
You're
I
going
see,
too soon.
I see the movie once and I'm so super in love with it, and then I see it again and I'm like, oh,
That's Marvel for you.
That's
right
how a
there.
lot of movies are,
That's-
though. Yeah.
That's just, that was the general feeling about Bohemian Rhapsody.
that's what I've heard.
People who liked Queen were like, "This was amazing." They saw it again, like, "Oh, but I have questions."
Why didn't you tell me about Live Aid?
That's a great scene
Yeah.
in a bad way.
Yeah, it
A lot
is.
of questions.
That
Crazy
final
going.
scene of Bohemian Rhapsody, I mean, it's just a 1-for-1 recreation, but that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on to final ratings. Toussaint, seems like you're ready to talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give this 2.5 out of 5. I thought that it was just like straight down the middle. It's all right. It's enjoyable. I enjoyed it a lot more than Homecoming. Can't even remember what my rating for Homecoming was, but I'm pretty sure that's dimmed in the light of hindsight since I first watched that. And it's like I enjoyed this. And I like Tom Holland, and I like the
Who's Tom Holland?
Tom Holland.
Okay.
And I like the special effects in this. I thought that Jake Gyllenhaal was.
We didn't talk about him at all.
Yeah.
Man, I don't want to take away from your thunder, but did we think that he was good as a villain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's just
He
there.
played a psychopath very well.
As a
I mean, he's just there
Yeah,
to.
that's what I mean.
He's
Written
there
or
to.
whatever.
That's what I mean. Did Jake Gyllenhaal...
He showed up. He did his
have a
Jake
purpose
Gyllenhaal
here.
like
I can't
weird.
tell you who else I would want to be Mysterio because there's no one that I'm like,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So I think he did justice.
He came in, he did his thing, he got his bag, and then got the fuck out. And you know what? I respect that.
He did the schlocky, earnest, good guy for a
Oh,
while that I
yeah.
thought was pretty fun because
Yeah.
I knew there'd be a heel turn.
And then he
so-
did the shit-eating bad guy.
Like some of his, he literally looked like a Spielberg asshole. Like, where you know that those kind of stories exist, where he's like in his dome and trying to critique like the way the drones are moving. And it's like, we really needed to go in a lot faster than that because otherwise, no. So I thought that was
I
actually
think
pretty
he
good.
played
Yeah.
Mysterio very well.
Yeah.
I'm with you that the whole villain motivation and all that was utter shit.
Stupid.
Well, I mean, most Spider-Man villains end up just being a villain and then get involved with Spider-Man and then kind of-
Romantically?
yes.
Oh.
I was going to say...
Because I mean, think about it.
Every battle is a battle of unrequited love in the Spider-Man universe.
But in the Tobey Maguire films, the villains in the first two are some of the best villains in comic book film history.
There are arcs and everything.
yeah, but those were allowed to be their own thing instead of
those
just having to
weren't
tie into
MCU
like some
films.
like larger.
I just
true.
want Sinister Six. That's all I really
That's
want.
not gonna
But
happen.
for the most
That's
part-
not gonna happen. It's like we all hate Tony Stark, and now we're all gonna beat the shit out of this
Other
kid.
than like Heath Ledger or maybe Jack Nicholson as the Joker, like most
Jared
people...
Leto.
Stop
No.
yourself.
No.
Most people feel like Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus is one of the best comic book villains of all time in
oh
film.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I'll
Absolutely.
take that, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I think Spider-Man villains are very different in the comics because they're set to be bad guys, and yes, in this universe, we hate Tony.
but you had Willem Dafoe being pretty much the only person who could ever play Green Goblin, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You have Alfred Molina being fantastic as Dr. Octopus, and it's just been a
You've
cavalcade of shit ever since then.
Topher Grace being a wonderful Eddie Brock.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
I like Topher Grace as Eddie Brock.
Oh, we found the one.
Yeah, let's,
Great.
I liked it a lot more than the current Venom. I can't stand
I've
that.
listened to the song Signal Fire by Snow Patrol more than I've watched the movie
Very great
Spider-Man
song.
3.
Yeah,
That was the
okay.
Spider-Man 3 song.
Spider-Man 3
Okay.
soundtrack.
They always, First of all, the
Slaps.
Spider-Man soundtracks were always
Yes.
pretty. I mean, you had Dashboard Confessional.
Wolf Mother.
You-
Chad Kroger from Nickelback.
okay, this
When
is
he was
getting weird.
just Chad
All right,
Kroger.
I'm gonna wrap up my initial
Is he
thoughts.
still married to Avril Lavigne?
I give it a 2.5 out of 5. So
Really?
we're
Are they
gonna go on to
married?
the next.
That was-
They were
uh,
married. Look it up, Canada history fans.
You ever think if he's divorced, he just like brings out the scrapbook and just like.
Do you know there's a
"Look at
theory
this
that Avril Lavigne was
photograph."
murdered like years ago, and the person that turned out was like a clone?
No, I think that it's just a career that was murdered, and now
Yeah.
she's just kind of like, you know.
Remember that music video for the Nickelback song "Save Me," where the guy could see the countdown timers on every person that he passes as to when their time of death
Are
would
you
be?
talking about In Time?
Nope, because remember I just said, remember that Nickelback music video
I'm sorry. I
where
guess that
the
movie.
guy would see the countdowns
Sorry.
to their deaths, and he would go around like saving them from either incidental death or suicides, and it was supposed to be an uplifting thing about, you know,
This
just kinda
feels familiar. This feels like a fever dream.
YouTube it.
So I'm reading the Chad Kroger page on Wikipedia,
Good.
and anyways, so this is
Do you
the
have
most,
editing permissions?
this is the most Chad Kroger / Nickelback thing ever. He married Avril Lavigne
Knew it.
in France on Canada Day. Of course, piece of shit. Anyways, according to Avril Lavigne's Instagram account, they separated in 2015, and I assume that they're divorced now, even though it doesn't say anything more about that.
Well, it's complicated.
Yeah, I don't know.
Good song. Good song.
Okay. I don't know how. This is totally off topic, but we love doing that on this. I read something about Hobbs and Shaw, which I wanted to mention.
Lord.
Okay.
Why did you do
Okay,
this?
so this is...
Should we save this for after final rating?
No,
Yeah,
no.
I already gave my final rating, and
Did
now
you?
it's... Yeah, I did. I tried to wrap it up, and you guys were like talking about your thing.
I listened.
I give it a 2.5 out of 5. Thank you, Nick.
This was
Anyway,
familiar,
continue with your thought,
I was
and then
gonna
we'll
say,
move on. Yes.
This is going... I'm going to forget about it if we get off of it. So I
Okay.
just want to mention really quickly. I don't know why I thought of it. I thought of this because I think Chad Kroeger is definitely older than Ever Living. Maybe not. Anyways, so Hobbs and Shaw...
You're talking about Vanessa Kirby
Yes.
and
Okay.
Jason Statham.
Yeah. So Jason Statham and Vanessa Kirby are brother and sister, and Jason Statham is like 24 years older than Vanessa Kirby, but the film says that they're the same age, and that's fucked up. It's very Hollywood. You remember what I'm talking about, Tucson, because they're like about when they were kids, and then
No,
there's
it's true. Many people have pointed this out.
yeah. But there was a flashback to them being kids, and they're the
They
same
had to be
age.
kids at the exact same time, which makes no sense.
But
'cause-
she's 26 and he's like 50, so that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. That's weird.
Anyways.
That's not kind of weird. That is just weird.
Do you know, speaking of siblings who I would want to see be Aunt May? Maggie Gyllenhaal. I would want that.
That'd be fucked up if it was in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
If Maggie Gyllenhaal is just playing Aunt May in the next film and nobody like mentions
Nobody
that at
bats
all.
an eye.
Yeah. It would be just like with the Dark Knight trilogy, how like they had Rachel
Or,
Holmes
Iron Man, where Don Cheadle just turns into...
yeah, and then he's like,
James Rodney.
okay, look, see, I'm here. Like let's just get over it and just like move on. And
No
I'm
one
like,
talks
yeah.
about
In
that.
fairness, Terrence Howard's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he is.
And
yeah.
Katie Holmes was in Scientology at the time, so
Yeah.
they just
Yeah, she was kind of busy.
wiped her to the side.
Yeah,
Maggie Gyllenhaal's a better actress too.
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, whose rating wants to go next? Will
I'll
it be?
go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
with
go
my
ahead.
Maggie Gyllenhaal dreams
Yeah.
over here.
Yep.
I'm
How
going
do
to
you rate her as a human being?
I think I'm still going to give this a 3.5 out of 5.
Right on.
I'm still a big Spider-Man fan. Like I said, Tobey Maguire was my first Spider-Man. It was really hard to see Andrew Garfield come in and have feelings for that, being like, you're snarky, but you're still a terrible human. I don't know how to feel, but I'm giving it still a nice 3.5 just because of the overall love of the character. I agree. I don't know where this is going. I'm very interested to see if we're going to dive into these characters. Are we going to get a Gwen Stacy? Are we going to get a Mary Jane Watson? Are we going to get a whole other character like Michelle? So I'm very interested to see where we go. I think it's just a lot of pressure coming off of Endgame. People have high expectations, and I think it did fall a little flat. But I'll still give it a nice 3.5 out of 5.
Right on. I will be closer to Tucson's. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. I just felt like this film had a hard time really getting any momentum going, at least for me, because Spider-Man's already at a somewhat disadvantage, as I mentioned. But at the same time, I felt like the whole backstory with Mysterio was really stupid. Everything in that bar scene was it was supposed to be like comically ridiculous, like a Bond villain, but at the same time, I just didn't get enough of a vibe for that, so I just felt like it was just dumb and it just fell flat. And then everything surrounding most parts of this film had good moments, but they were followed by moments that I thought were just kind of just there or kind of boring. So even though the finale was pretty solid and Tom Holland wasn't really bad as Spider-Man, I still felt like this was kind of mediocre. So it's 2.5 out of 5 for me for Spider-Man Far From Home.
It's a 2 out of 5 for me.
That sounds right.
I'm out.
Okay.
There we go.
Nick didn't have anything else?
I mean, props to Tom Holland for keeping his accent for as much as he can, because I'm always waiting for him to slip up.
Oh, he's not a piece of shit like Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
No, he's like doing a pretty good Christian Bale right now in the sense that like every time I hear his accent, I'm like, oh yeah, you're British. So
That's what happened. I'm assuming that he's gonna just be doing that for most of his career when he plays any American role, just having that same kind of voice. But I mean, that's pretty much what Hugh Jackman's done for his whole career now, is just have to have that exact same voice he used in the first X-Men.
But he's not the greatest at American accents.
No.
I mean,
but
yeah,
he's
he
got
chose the X-Men voice, and then he's only done
I was going to say, he's got
That's
so
all he
much
can do.
tape on it now
Yeah.
that when you hear him do his actual voice, it does sound pretty different.
Yeah.
But yes, he does fall. Who's the other? Gary Oldman's really bad at that, where he will slip back into his actual accent quite often. I really like him, but Michael Fassbender does the same thing.
Margot Robbie is actually very good at
Mike?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
doing her accent.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because when I've seen her in, like, About Time, which is a British film, she's able to, even though she's Australian, I think use a form of her real accent in that movie, and it's obviously a lot different. I will say Michael Fassbender is, like, the hypothesis of, like, greatest actor who can never do his accent as well as he should. Like, as far as, like, I think he's a terrific actor, but also for being a terrific actor, he could be a little better at that.
Like, I was just watching, again, because I think it's a fantastic film, I was just watching Steve Jobs a couple weeks ago, and, like, he's giving some big speech, and for the most part, it's totally fine, and he's nailing it. And just, I don't know if, like, they just only took one take or whatever, but, like, there was one part where he just totally slips back into his old accent, and it just seems totally out of place.
Yeah,
It's weird.
I'd agree.
Still great. I agree. Anyways, that was our feelings on Spider-Man Far From Home.
Considering I had a lot of feelings.
What's
so
that?
I vomited them all out.
You did?
All my
That's
feelings
okay.
are out.
That's good, because
Just not clean it up.
in all honesty, if we did
Nope.
this episode, just the three of us, it would have been super boring. So I'm glad that you had that here and kept the conversation going.
Thank you so much for coming on
Absolutely.
our episode.
Thanks,
You
Christina.
all can find me at Cool Story Tina. You know, you can see all my live tweets about me, any other shows. I love to plug myself.
Yeah.
Hell
It's okay.
yeah.
That's the era we live in. So
Right.
Christina
yeah,
has
totally
good
fine.
tweets.
My tweets are very, just my.
I
feelings.
did not used to be like this, but ever since I got my two cats, I have become an animal lover, which is so out of character. If anyone who knew me
Yeah.
before the cats came along,
Yeah.
You used to be kind of like a person, who'd like sidestep anybody's.
I thought that any like people like being heartbroken about their pets, I was like, fucking assholes. And now I'm like, how could you say that? So yeah. Anyways, on your Instagram, I like when you have your post of your dogs. They're pretty great.
They're a great time. You guys can follow them at. I'll plug that too.
Please.
My dog's Instagram.
I'm more interested in this.
But yeah, so we have a really good following for them. It's Luna May and Parker J, Jay. You can find all of that great content.
It's not surprising, but animals, and I'm mostly seeing with cats, but they are far more interesting on
Like, I don't want to see your
Instagram.
baby.
Oh,
Like,
no.
Get that out of here.
Hell no, absolutely. But you could do anything with pets, so it's pretty great.
Because it's not like creepy. Like when someone makes a baby Instagram,
Are there,
thought you
is
were
that
gonna
a
say
thing?
that's a thing.
I thought you were going to say makes
fucked
a
up.
baby.
Well, when they make a baby, see
And
what
then they
happens
Instagram it.
is they hug
That's
really
creepy.
tight.
Now, baby Instagrams? That's
Yes,
fucked up.
That's a thing.
Baby did
Should-
not consent to that.
It's only
No.
fucked up because I have one, right?
What? What?
Well, I just, like, I would never put my own kid on, on Instagram. But I thought
No.
No?
No.
I was
Okay.
gonna say that's kind of weird having like your like.
Well, it's like I don't
Kid,
have the
I-
money to adopt him, but I thought it would be cute if I, like,
Instead of sending him $5
Yeah.
a month,
I just
I'll
post
put a-
pictures.
I don't know. I feel like in this era, you like some dumbass piece of person would just have like their kid holding their fucking social security card or some shit on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. This is what you get for being on the Nintendo Switch for too long, and now I'm going to shame you by having you show off your social security card. I don't know. Some kind of weird fucking like old school parenting.
I was talking
meets,
about
like,
babies. I don't.
new
No.
school like
Nude school.
new
I don't-
school like social media like
Where are we
I'm
going with
gonna show you what's what.
How did we get here?
I don't know.
That
I don't know how we
every
got here.
episode.
Yeah.
Every fucking episode.
It's not me. I didn't do it. I'm here.
Well-
I'm just here.
Okay.
You started it. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Wow. Tucson. I like also this is
Let's
is
check
what's
the
great
tape.
about-
Let's
No,
check the
no.
tape.
Okay, that was great.
This is very Trumpian.
Let's check the tape.
Whoa.
Ouch. That was below the belt.
Yeah.
No, what was great about that is Tucson, and this is a long-standing thing on this podcast, and it's not just you, but Tucson say, no, it's not me, it's you. But we're on a podcast with 3 other people other than yourself, so no one knows who the fuck you're talking about.
It's got to be somebody. They'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah. They'll figure it out.
The audience at home will figure
They'll
it out.
figure it out.
So that will make up their own mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, anyone out there who knows who Tucson was talking about, or if you have any feelings on Spider-Man Far From Home, or really anything else around this generation's Spider-Man, which hasn't been that long because we've had 3 Spider-Mans in this generation, if you want to email us about this movie or anything we've talked about on this episode, you can always feel free to do so at filmtankshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Film Tank Show, and find all of our episodes on filmtankshow.com, or you can follow us on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, or we're also on Spotify or a bunch of other podcasting
Wherever your
platforms.
favorite podcasts are found.
I was going to say, we're on a bunch of feeds now, so we are available. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
So coming up on our next episode is episode 200, Yes.
Not any better.
No, it's not. It's never any better. So we did mention.
No.
We did.
Nick.
We did mention that what our plans were for this episode. I don't know. It was like
4 or 5 episodes.
I was going to say it was a
ago.
while ago.
Yeah.
But we're going to do 3 movies that the 3 of us picked, and we're going to sit down, watch all of them, and then discuss them on the episode, and it's going to be pretty awesome.
What 3 movies are those?
So those are. I know I had 8 Men Out.
Okay.
Nick, you picked a pornographic film
No.
called.
It's a sexploitation film.
That's different.
Okay.
It's different.
Well, I'm
It
just
definitely.
saying.
It definitely.
You say pornographic as if that's a stand-in for a sex film. Sex film is a whole genre in and of itself.
Yeah.
And pornographic is more about the content than it is about the genre.
Okay.
He's right. It's like calling Snow White an anime when actually Snow White is just an animation.
Okay.
Anime is a very
So,
particular
I will
subgenre of
say
animation.
that having seen Licorice Quartet, I feel like at least it's genre bending in some ways.
You want me to show you pornographic
No,
film?
I'm,
No.
Because
God damn it.
I feel like you just sitting down to watch anyone that's actually pornographic will show the difference
No.
night and day.
Get to my film.
anyways,
I guess I just don't want people to think that they shouldn't watch it
No.
if they do not
And
want to watch pornographic
will
films. because
find out
it is not
all of our
pornographic.
They will
feelings.
find out on next
I was going to say,
episode.
they'll find out all of our feelings on that particular film, and it is definitely not necessarily something you should turn away from just because of what I said. So,
Because it's not.
and then we have Toussaint's film, which has a very awkward scene in it.
Yeah.
But you'll hear more about that
pornographic.
also.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
It's it definitely stands out in a
it
bad
does.
way.
Oh, it does. Yeah, it does.
And that film is called.
The Royal Space Force Wings of Honamis.
What's happening over there?
Why were you presenting it?
I wasn't presenting anything. Anyway, the Royal Space Force Wings of Honamis,
Yeah.
which was the first film.
One more time.
The Royal Space Force Wings of Honamis.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was like I enjoy that film,
Mm-hmm.
warts and all, and there are some pretty glaring warts in that film. Yeah, we talk about that at length.
We'll mention that as it seems pretty apparent probably, but we've already recorded this episode.
Oh yeah,
But at the same time, that is for anime, for me at least, because I am not a fan of anime generally.
yeah.
It's really not that bad.
No.
There is that one scene.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah. We'll talk about that on the episode.
yeah, it's it stands out.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, we'll talk. We will tell you after.
Yes.
we're done
But
recording this podcast.
also, if you want to find out about it,
Yeah.
you can listen
I
to
will
our
listen.
200th
yeah,
episode.
yeah.
So, thank you very much to Christina for joining us as very much awesome to get together again.
Thanks for dealing with one more Marvel movie with me.
Yeah, one more. I'm sure that we'll be dealing with a lot more one more Marvel movies in the future.
Some we'll probably do some more.
Yeah.
But we'll try not to have it be 3 years again before you come back. And it will not be a Marvel movie the next time. But it will not be that movie that Toussaint wants to see, because it's been pretty clear that you're not interested, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
So anyways, from Christina, Toussaint, Nick, and myself, Alex, thank you very much for joining us here on Film Tank, and we will catch up with you next time.